Happy Sunday, everybody. Välkommen tillbaka. Tack för sist. Just kind of a lazy Sunday. Was just watching YouTube videos for a couple hours actually, and then playing with the dogs a little bit. It's, like I said, just kind of a lazy Sunday. Just a relaxing Sunday morning, watching some videos, right? My puppy. You a good girl? You a good girl, huh? So, I had a topic for today again, and I watched some videos and stuff enters my brain, and I just gotta kind of go with it. So, I will put off the topic I was gonna do for another day, and talk about this. So, I mentioned that I've been reading my journals from my Mormon mission more than 40 years ago. And I've been very shocked at what I'm reading, because it's like I'm reading somebody else's experiences. But one of the things that came up over and over and over again was both my companion and I, in those first several months, every few days would be like, why are we here? What are we doing? Because we would knock on doors endlessly. And you know, in the beginning I was a really positive guy. I mean, I was unhappy, I was sad and depressed, but I was positive that it was going to work, that we were going to baptize people, that we were going to convert people to the Mormon church. And I remember, well, I don't remember actually very well, I read my own handwriting saying, oh, this person seems really positive, I think we'll have them baptized by next month. And then we'd meet somebody else, oh, this one's really positive, they said we could come back. A lot of times when people told us we could come back, when we went back, they either pretended they didn't know us or just flat out didn't want us there again. Every once in a while they'd let us back in, but it never led anywhere. So I started doing some research yesterday, because if you served a Mormon mission, especially around that time frame, that time era, 80s, late 70s to mid 80s, I don't know what happens now, so I can't speak for now. But we were told constantly, if we would question this, you know, to our mission president or our zone leader or whatever, we were told, well, you're laying seeds, you're laying a foundation. So don't look at it as a failure just because nobody gets baptized, nobody's converted to the church. Don't look at it that way. And I accepted that, even though I questioned it a lot in my journals. Every night I wrote, my whole mission I wrote every single day. And I questioned it a lot, and I kept getting the same answer, because, you know, I think on my whole mission, between the companions I was with and I think we had 6 baptisms in a year and a half, which was actually quite high for that mission. But every single one of those people left the church, all of them. It is hard to be a member of the LDS church in Norway. So here's what I'm getting at. I just looked this up yesterday, there are about 4,800 members in Norway. Now that number might be off by a bit. I looked a couple of different sources, and they both put it around there, around 5,000 members in the whole country of 5 million. Norway's not a big country, but 5,000 is not a lot of people. And the majority of those are in Oslo. I mentioned, you know, the branch I was in up in Bodø. A branch is like a little congregation. There was one week we had 5 people, and 2 of them were us. We had a week of 22, and that was like, holy cow, we got a huge congregation. Usually it was around 13 or 14. So yeah, there are around 5,000 members. Let's just call it 5,000. So I went back and looked, because I was pretty sure I remembered how many members were in the church in Norway when I was there in 83 and 84. And sure enough, it was about 4,400. That's no growth. That's over 40 years and gained about 400 or 500 members. That could easily be just members that were born into the church, you know, to existing members. That's crazy. Where is all this seed laying? I questioned it then. Now I really go back and I look what the hell were we doing? Knocking endlessly on doors. I don't know if they still do that. I mean, I see missionaries around here. You know, we live in a very LDS area, but they're still out. I'm always nice to them, by the way. If they come to my door, I say, you know, I wish you nothing but good, but I've been where you are. If you come into my house and we have a long talk, there's a bigger chance that I'm going to convert you than that you're going to convert me. I've been there, done that. I have no interest in it, but I'm always nice to them. I've been there. It's not easy. I think it's probably easier if you're American and you go to the States, even though I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to go to Canada or to the States. I wanted to go somewhere. So I was happy that I went to Norway and I got to go back to my homeland. But you can't use that phrase, we're laying seeds. We didn't lay any freaking seeds. No, nothing's happened there. The church is just stagnant there. I haven't looked at growth in other places. I know the church growth has slowed significantly since I was a part of it, especially in the 70s and 80s. I remember back then, and I don't have my numbers exact, so forgive me if I'm off a little, but I think it was close to 200,000 members a year were joining. And of course, a lot of that was birthed into the church, but there were 200,000 new members every year, approximately. You know, that's, say, 50 years ago. So 10 years is 2 million, 50 years is 10 million. Well, I think the church population back then, yeah, I shouldn't spout numbers because I don't know them exactly, but let's just say the growth has slowed significantly. And the attendance percentage has dropped significantly. I believe back in the late 70s to mid 80s, it was around 40 to 50% of members were active and went to church every week. I've heard a bunch of different numbers, but for now, but they all range between 20 and 30%. And I can see it in the churches around me here. I can see just in the 21 years I've lived in this house, there aren't as many cars in the parking lot. And I don't think it's just a Mormon thing. I think it's a religious thing. I think people go to church, are active Christians less than they were 50, 60, 70 years ago. Now, I've heard there's beginning to be a bit of a resurgence, and that might be true. I don't know. But it really made me wonder, you know, going back to the 19, 20-year-old me, questioning all that. What are we doing here? What is this doing? What's doing? Nothing. It's doing exactly what I thought it was doing, nothing. If that was laying seeds, then all those people that we talked to over those years should have eventually found their way into the church. Oh, it's so hot out here. I tried to sit in the shade and I got some, but you can see the sun's right on my head. It's another hot one. I'm looking forward to Norway and 60-degree days with rain. We'll be there pretty soon. But yeah, to me, it was just all a lie. It was just a lie. And I don't even know that the people that were telling me this were lying, or at least they didn't think they were. I think they had good intentions. You know, when somebody goes and serves as a mission president, they're doing it on their own dime. At least they were then. And they're taking a year and a half, usually a couple of years, maybe 3 years. Actually, I think it was 3 years back then, of their life to dedicate to that service. So I respect that. I look up to people that are willing to do that. I'll call him a friend. I don't know him very well. He was a teacher of mine in the Missionary Training Center in February to March of '83. He had been on a Mormon mission just a year or two before me. So he's only 2 or 3 years older than me. But him and his wife just went back about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and served a couples mission. If you're not familiar, older couples can go on missions. And we had 3 or 4 older couples when I was in Norway on my mission. I served in one town with a couple. And I served in another with a couple. Now here's a crazy story for you. This is off topic a little bit, but it's about the mission. So this couple that we were serving with, I'm not going to say their names because it'd be easy enough to find out who they were. Um, trying to remember where we served. It doesn't matter. It was on the west coast of Norway. They were, I would say, in their late 60s probably. I thought they were way older than that, but I look back at pictures, and I actually looked him up. He passed away at like 99 just a few years ago. So they were probably in their late 60s, maybe around 70. Super nice couple. They were just friendly, nice people. She was a sweetheart. He was a good dude. We lived in the same place. It was like a house with kind of two separate apartments in it. So we were with them all the time. And just a beautiful couple. Here's the crazy part. So this was a town where we actually had a little bit of success. We baptized a family. And I can't remember if her husband had passed away or if she was divorced, but she was single and she had adopted 3 or 4 kids. I think she had 1 or 2 of her own and had adopted 2 or 3. It's a little fuzzy, it's a lot of years ago. There's a couple of them, those kids, that I still kind of keep in. I mean, they're not kids now, they're in their 50s. But I talk to on Facebook here and there. Really nice, beautiful family. So this woman, single woman, with a bunch of kids, gets baptized. I get transferred out of the area, and not long after that, I mean, it was all over the mission what happened. The guy, the missionary couple dude that was 70, she was probably, I'm guessing, mid to late 30s, maybe 40, something like that. He left his wife while they were on their Mormon mission and shacked up with this woman, and they eventually moved back to the States. And those kids are in the States now. One of the kids tragically took their own life not too long after that, and maybe that had something to do with it. I have no idea. I don't know. But that absolutely blew my mind, because this couple were hardcore members. I mean, they were really into the church. You can't do much worse than that. That's pretty bad. And I had such a high opinion of this guy and her, and my respect for both of them down off the cliff. And I felt so horrible for that guy's poor wife. Here she is stuck in a foreign country, and her husband has left her for a woman 30 years younger, that they had just been part of baptizing. Just a crazy, crazy story. So again, I don't know about seeds. It obviously didn't really take with her. I don't know if they came back and were Mormon. I don't know much about it after that. I know what happened there. And I tried to look them up and found out that like I said, he had passed away just a few years ago at 98 or 99, something like that, really old. So yeah, I'm sure, I know there are ex-missionaries watching this. Did you ever have those thoughts? Did you ever think, what am I doing here? What is the point of this? Because every other page I write that in my journal. And now I go back and look at all the seeds that we sowed, nothing happened. Nothing. It still doesn't change my mind that I'm glad I went. The main reason I'm glad I went is because I got to go back to my country. I got to relearn. I already spoke Norwegian, but I got to get it very, almost, well, I was fluent. I'm not now, but I can speak it fairly well. I got to meet a bunch of my relatives that I just don't get to see very often. So there were all kinds of blessings that went with being there. I got to meet some cool people. I had some companions that I didn't care for, but maybe they didn't care for me either. It's a two-way street, but it's hard throwing 2 strangers together. So I'm going to keep this video a little bit shorter. After reading those, I wanted to do a video and see if any of you felt that way. I just watched a YouTube video, actually a couple of them, about a couple of Mormon bishops that left the church because they just started hearing and reading and seeing things that just went against the whole belief of it. And that's for them. I left for my reasons. They left for their reasons. And if you left for your reasons. And if you're in the church, that's your thing too. And I respect that. So we'll end it there. I hope y'all have a beautiful Sunday. I got to go back inside. It's too freaking hot out here. Ha det gott. Men snackes igen snart. Peace.
What are you guys up to today? What are you doing, Freya? It's another hot one. Where's your pig? Where's your pig? She loves chasing her pig. There it is. There it is. Should we kick it? You want this? You want this? You want this?